Hey there everybody. So today I want to talk to you guys about something that was in the news earlier this month, and it was about Disney Plus blocking certain classic films from children's profiles and putting a disclaimer on them. If you've been an avid follower of my channel, first off, thank you. But secondly, you probably know that I like talking about censorship, the rating system, and what should or shouldn't be viewed with nostalgia goggles. And this news was something that really interests me because I had this type of discussion on my What Happened in G-Rated Films video and my What I Want to See on Disney Plus video. In my Disney Plus video, I talked about censorship of these old movie and film studios and how when they used to make things back in the old days, lots of the racial things were very incorrect, at least for this modern time that we're living in now, and how what should be done about that. Should they get rid of these things? Should they just put a disclaimer, say, hey, this isn't viewed correctly? And, you know, some studios like Warner Brothers would put out a disclaimer saying, hey, these views aren't correct then. They're not correct now, but not having them around would just be the equivalent of pretending that it didn't exist, which I've always been a fan of. I've always liked Warner Brothers' approach to that. Disney never really did that, though, and because Disney's always been this shiny, perfect, clean image, they never liked pushing the narrative of, hey, we used to be bad, hey, we used to do things that were the norm of society back then. They've always just tried to hide it away so people never saw. But the thing is, with the age of the internet and people growing more and more aware of these types of things, it's kind of getting difficult to hide the past, if you know what I mean. If you don't know what I'm talking about here, Disney Plus, the streaming platform that has all kinds of Disney movies and TV shows, put out a disclaimer for certain old classic films of theirs that have lots of bad racial depictions. Movies like Dumbo, The Aristocats, and Peter Pan have very negative racial depictions in those films, so what Disney did for the adult profiles is they put out a disclaimer that says something along the lines of, these have negative racial depictions, this was not correct then, it's not correct now, but to get rid of that would be like censoring the past and pretending like it didn't happen. What Disney Plus also did is gotten rid of those movies on children's profiles, even though those films, Dumbo, Aristocats, Peter Pan, are all G-rated films. They moved them out of children's profiles because if you want to see those films, you have to watch an adult profile, you have to have adult supervision, which I understand, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of backlash to it, and I wouldn't agree with it. Meaning I don't agree with the backlash. I feel like there's so many people that keep on complaining about cancel culture and censorship and how our rights are getting taken away and blah, blah, blah. No, I don't think that's it at all. I think it's just more so a company trying to take the good steps forward and saying, hey, you know what? If you want to have this type of discussion, you can watch it with your kids. Have a discussion with the children and saying, hey, you know what? This isn't right. Now, there's going to be some people that are like, hey, wait a minute. I watched these when I was younger. I never thought these were negative depictions. I thought everything was fine. It's a cartoon. Well, yeah, I mean, kinda. I was like that for a little bit too. But here's the thing. Of course, I never thought of those depictions as something negative because those negative depictions are not me. They're of somebody else. So for me to say, oh, it's not a big deal, it's not that bad, I never thought anything of it, doesn't mean that somebody that looks like that negative depiction isn't hurt by that. And Disney has a lot of that, and a lot of these old companies have that, as a matter of fact, especially with certain things like I talk about with Splash Mountain, one of my favorite Disneyland rides. Splash Mountain in the Disney parks is based on the 1940s Disney film Song of the South, which Disney still has yet to acknowledge or release in any sort of capacity in the past 20 years, I think. It's a movie they're so ashamed of with negative racial depictions of African Americans and especially slaves. Which is interesting because it's based on one of their most famous theme park attractions, but if you don't know the news, they're trying to change that into The Princess and the Frog, which one part of me does enjoy. I think that's going to be a really cool thing to change up something, especially one that has a negative racial depiction to it. But at the same time, it is very nostalgic for me. I'm going to be sad to see it go, but I understand the reasoning behind it. And that's the thing I think a lot of people are missing here. Because they're so attached to something nostalgically, that they sit there and say, hey, it didn't mess me up. It wasn't a bother to me. Why should we get rid of it? Why should we censor it? Why should this have to go? Which, again, a lot of the people that say that are people that aren't affected by those negative portrayals. Personally, I think this is a great step forward for Disney. They're finally acknowledging what they did in the past, and they're finally not hiding from it. The companies of Universal and Warner Brothers, they've been doing this already. Disney, with their shiny, beautiful Mickey Mouse organization, never wanted to show anything from that past that was so sad and never acknowledge it, but now they are. This is great. This is something that should not be viewed negatively. This is a great step forward for this company, in my personal opinion. Watch these movies and acknowledge what happened. Watch these movies and accept that those things happen, but also watch these movies and know that this is wrong. You can enjoy the rest. That's the beautiful thing for me. You can enjoy the rest of the movie. Don't let that negative depiction absolutely destroy the movie that you've really liked for that long, but just acknowledge that that portion of it is incorrect. As I said, this is a great step forward for Disney and everything like that, but I still am hoping that they will release Song of the South. I think once they finally release Song of the South, that's going to be the major stepping stone in saying, hey, you know what? We're finally fully going to acknowledge our past. We're finally going to show this very controversial film, so then you can really discuss the themes and stories behind this. I look forward to seeing what Disney does in the future for all this, and I really hope that they continue through this path in the right direction for everything from their movies, their theme parks, and their television shows. So I just wanted to talk about what Disney Plus was doing with their movies and Disney Plus and the steps that they're taking towards a little bit more unity and acknowledgement. I'd love to talk with you guys about this in the comments below, about what you think should or shouldn't be on Disney Plus when it comes to racial connotations, what Disney could or could not have done differently in this type of situation. Let me know in the comments below. As always, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends or enemies, I guess, and subscribe to my channel for more Disney discussions, movie reviews, and anything else that I can come up with. Well, thanks everybody!